Hello, this is the submission run for Mulaka, any percent, estimate of 32 minutes as you see on the screen. We always do runs on profile 2, you don't have to, but you'll see what I'm referring to towards the end of the run, 25-30 minutes say. Time starts at file select, 3, 2, 1, go. A big and easily underrated part of the speed tech for this game is menuing, and even just there you see some of it. Knowing which buttons to press to skip ahead matters, because it does vary. Any in-game cutscenes are skipped with B, conspicuous loading screens are skipped with A. Here's our first bit of speed tech in the game. We run to the end of that otherwise forced fight we're in, that ring of stones, and warp to the area we're already in through the game's menus. And for whatever reason, it sets our spawn point after the fight, and we jump in quicksand. That's lovely. I'll just go the long way around. It's not that much longer. I would, no lie, probably reset for that in a PB run, but that's not that big a deal. Hey, Leica. Now, you see up the hill, this desert hill, this is Samalayuka, by the way, the desert expanse. I call that a stone gate, where you see those hollows carved out. You're expected to find stones in the surrounding area to fit into them to open that gate. Most levels have one of those gates. We won't go through any of them the way we're intended to. Intended is maybe not the right word, but the way we're expected to. That's the skip for this one. And I say intended is maybe not the right word because a lot of the skips we're going to use are a little too perfect to... a little too accessible to have been just accident, just things the developers didn't plan. And I've even asked the developers of this game on Twitter if they expected the player to ever go out of bounds, considering there are Easter eggs in out-of-bounds areas, and they actually said yes, so who's to know what's intended and what's not? Anyway, this is the first boss, and a very good example of why I call this game a Zelda-like, similar to how everything these days is a Souls-like. Mulaka is a Zelda-like. It has to do with the gimmicky nature of this boss. I'm not ashamed to admit in my first playthrough just how long it took me to quite understand what's going on here, but he's a scorpion with a big hard shell on his back, and you're in an arena full of pillars. Make him charge the pillars to break the shell on his back. That's exactly how the fight progresses. You see me targeting the sheaths on his legs as well? That's less about damaging him and more about building up our special meter, which is the bar directly under the 3 quadrilaterals in the top right corner of the screen. That is our health bar, and the bar directly below them is mana, although in the first level we don't have any magic abilities, so mana at this point is irrelevant. It takes 4 pillars to knock his shell off, so this will get it done. I don't really want him to do swipies. That's slower than simply running, but it's not a huge deal. So at this point, we just spam attacks. Weak attacks are better DPS than heavy attacks. At his exposed eye, pop the finisher, and that's the fight. And because we didn't pause over the course of the level, we're able to immediately pull up the map and warp to the next level. If we had paused, we would have had to sit through his entire death cutscene and wait for the game to open up the map to let us advance forward. So it's very important that you never pause in this game. Tiny little skip right there to get out of that area. You can just jump off that tree for whatever reason. That is the absolute fanciest way of reaching this area. I call it fancy pathing because I'm creative. It's where we discover our bomb potion. That's what the UI element in the lower left corner of the screen is. Those are your potions. Top is soul potion for healing. Right is bomb potion, as we just saw. Bottom is Rage Potion, which is a damage buff, and left is Shield Potion, which we never actually discover in the run. And you also just saw a glitch that I found. Proud to say I found it, because I don't find all that many glitches. But it allows us to duplicate bombs infinitely. Easy for me to say. What happens is you pull up the reticle. You may have heard him make a sound. That's what happens when you select a potion you don't actually have. By doing that after pulling up the reticle, the game thinks we're using that other potion, but still we can throw a bomb. And we can do this infinitely. one bomb becomes infinite bombs. You know how much bombs matter to any modern Zelda game, so I always say this game plays like one of those. This is a very significant glitch. And honestly, the day after I found it, my PB went down 4 minutes. Some of that was still me being just generally bad at the game, but some of it was the glitch, no doubt. It's actually okay to lose a soul there, because it gets us a free heal potion, soul potion. I'll only ever use those during PB runs against the final boss, but in a no-reset run if things get really hairy, which hopefully they won't, but it's never impossible, I might use them elsewhere. We can pick plants. This is actually what gives us the potions. And it was actually perfectly free to do it at that point. The demigod statue cannot be interacted with for a good couple of seconds after it spawns. And by doing our same thing there, by never pausing during the course of the level, we're able to skip the demigod cutscene entirely. You can mash through it as well. It's a skippable cutscene, but by skipping it from even spawning, you save even more time. This is Riso Rikubi, the mountain by the stream. There's a clip up the hill here that I'm not especially good at. What you do is fly there, Dean fly, and hey, first try every time like a boss. That skips a cutscene that introduces the entrance to the cave. Here's a big silly skip. That's what I'm talking about by not really using the term intended. That little notch is just, it's there, and you have to think it was put there for a reason, and if that wasn't the reason, I'm not sure what would have been the reason. That didn't quite work. That alone is a pretty significant skip, reaching this area with the snake head. But we're about to do an even more significant skip. We are well out of bounds on top of the level. Take just the slightest detour to show that. That is the protagonist to the developer Lienzo's previous game, Hunter's Legacy. I don't like it quite as much as this game, but no doubt it has its fans. Yeah, her name is Iki. She is an anthropomorphic cat. And that is not the only Easter egg placed in an out-of-bounds area, so it's very possible the developers fully intended what I'm doing. But we'll get back in bounds up here on top of this mound to clip into the arena with the boss that concludes this level. This level does have a stone gate, but we never even see it. And with our bomb duplication glitch, we can immediately get to full aggro against this boss. What would happen ordinarily is you would hit it with your spear, and it would sort of like halfway wake up, and then you'd have to hit it with your spear some more before the full aggro would spawn. By throwing a bomb, and of course you can do it just throwing a bomb too, but we want to dupe our bombs. You can get there right away. Bomb duping revolutionized this fight because look at that. We can take all 3 of these mouths out with 1 bomb. Previously we had been, and even if you don't get it quite right, you can get 2. We had been throwing our spear at all of them, so bomb duping makes this fight tremendously faster. Dupe 3 bombs from the top of the cave mouth, throw your spear down on the rock. For whatever reason, if you don't throw your spear, the game will actually teleport you down to the bottom of the cave. In this phase of the fight, there are not 6 mouths, but 12, 6 on each side. It's much harder to target the ones below where you're standing with a bomb, so those ones I do still take out with the spear. And sometimes the game can get a little greedy auto-targeting things that you don't want it to, but that's how simple that fight can be. It's never a bad idea, and I would certainly do it in a marathon run, to pick a safety bomb, just in case I mess up a dupe. There's what I'm talking about. The demigod statue is not interactive for... That was actually quicker than I was expecting, but it still is not interactive for a moment after it spawned. This level has a lot of cool stuff to do, and we're not going to do any of it. Stone Gate is right by where you spawn, with the bird morph. Not exactly like that, but there we are. You can fly straight through. And get to the boss of this level just that quickly. And say hello to Froggo. Now, you don't want him to start the fight by shaking. Suck is the attack you want him to do. He basically has 4 attacks. Shake, suck, stomp, and jump. He'll always do suck and stomp near the beginning of the fight. This is how you make him vulnerable when he does suck after the fish skeletons are spawned in. You do the bear transformation, which we just obtained at the end of the previous level, to basically knock the fish skeleton into his mouth. You know, the suction of the air and the water. He takes the fish skeleton with him. There's his jump. Jump is a decent attack for him to do because he'll usually do suck right after jump. That's not good because he made the fish skeleton go away. Yeah, he's getting ready to do his suck. Ideally, you want to just... Oh, that missed. How did that miss? That's not very good. Ideally, you want to just push these into his mouth, but that went a little bit wrong, so... We'll try her again. That's not a mistake I usually make. Here's going to be an example of just pushing it into his mouth. See? It's right by his mouth, and he just gobbles it up. I actually changed the damage scripting for this fight. Yeah, any cycle-based fight in this game, there are, I believe, 3 of them. This one, the final boss, and the large stone boss. You can only do a set amount of damage each cycle. So, just doing the bear transformation there as an attack maxes out the damage there. This is gonna miss again, isn't it? No, it didn't. Thank goodness. You do the bear transformation on the 2nd and 4th cycles. On the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, you do that little damage pattern I just did. And you can iframe the waves when he does his stomp attack. You can iframe almost anything in this game. Shaking is the worst attack he can do, but he'll never go the entire fight without shaking. Sometimes you still have to do the bear transformation even when the fish skeleton is really close by. That was tough, because I had one of the ads right next to me as I needed to do the bear transformation to push the fish skeleton. That was really hard. That was not a great fight, but we still got through it intact. The game really threw me a curveball at the end there. But that was Arareko, by the way, the Lakeside Mountain, or Mountainside Lake, one of the two. This is Huarach, the forest expanse. This is actually a time save I have not yet implemented into my own runs. My own current PB of 2751 does not have that, and the that I'm referring to is skipping past that save point. And you may be wondering, why would you even bother with a save point in a speedrun? Well, we want to spawn there after the fight we're about to do, and we used to think you had to proactively save the game to do that. Turns out you don't. Scorpion may look familiar. He's basically the same as the first Scorpion we fought. Ideally, throwing your spear at him would stagger him. I guess I missed too many times. But the bear transformation, if done close enough to him, will also stagger him. The ideal damage scripting is to get 2 staggers and he's dead. That was not how the fight is supposed to go, but a pretty good second best solution. This demigod grants us the Puma transformation, which is extremely useful for reasons you're about to see. So you see, we selected Horach from the map. That's the area we're already in, and we spawned at the save point. We did not actually have to sit there. The Puma transformation can clip through invisible walls, which is just about as useful as it sounds. There's another out-of-bounds Easter egg. We won't bother getting a close look at that one, but that man is a member of the development team. We enter this fight from out of bounds. That's a stone gate right there. By backing up to it, that's what activates the AI for these enemies. You kind of have to wait a moment for them to realize you're here. Get them all to gather around you. Build up a finisher as fast as possible. That's not great. Okay. The Puma does the most damage out of any transformations. The bear has the best hitbox. You'd love to see the finisher kill 2 of these enemies. It only killed 1 that time. Again, not a fantastic fight, but I'll take it. It's not gonna hemorrhage time. There we go. The Puma does the most damage by far. That fight is not cycle-based, it's strictly a DPS race. That's why we just did everything as fast as possible. Basachichi, Basachichi, the Great Wilderness. Do an invis wall clip there to skip having to hit a switch in a kind of pain in the butt area. Now this save point here, we do have to take this one. I specifically tested it, and we do have to save the game there to be able to spawn there after the fight we're about to do, which again is what we're looking for. Just avoid these enemies. No reason to give them the time of day. Up here, this Ring of Stones, this is the only Ring of Stones fight. They're common enough that I call them that. Ring of Stones fights. This is the only one we actually do in the run. Because a demigod power is granted afterward. Bomb duping can make this fight incredibly fast. It can also be more trouble than it's worth. So you kind of have to be on your toes about it. Now there is a specific enemy that we need to have in mind for this finisher. Sometimes you have to pull up your supernatural ability because the mantises can turn invisible, which is totally fair. It's this flying mantis here that we need to hit with the finisher, because to take him down the ordinary way just takes forever and ever. These enemies are really easy to deal with bombs, and when we have a glitch that gives us infinite bombs, hey, we're in business. This guy is killed by a bomb and a puma, or 2 bombs or 2 pumas, but a bomb and a puma is the fastest way of doing it. Here's the Sea Snake Demigod. They will grant us the Sea Snake transformation. We see game saved. That means that's our cue that the game has granted us this transformation, so we warp to the area we're already in. And if you think you've seen skips so far, oh baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. This one I don't think was anticipated or expected or put there for us to find by the developers. I'll just let it speak for itself right now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6, 7, 8. You may have heard me counting softly there. That's because if you are on unsafe ground for 12 seconds, the game will take you back to your last safe ground, and you can reset the timer by doing an animal transformation. There's another out-of-bounds Easter egg. That is a gentleman wearing an eye patch. Who I believe is also a member of the development team. Here's the boss of this area. It's another cycle-based fight. If we do it right, it'll be over in 3 cycles. If we don't, it'll be very sad. He also has something of an AI loop. If you stay by his back right leg, he's way more likely to do the attacks we want, which is that. We freeze it with the sea snake, knock him down with the bear. Heavy combo. 3-hit heavy combo. And a duped bomb. That should work in 3 cycles. 333 is the correct damage after 1. Doing that damage pattern should kill him in 3 cycles consistently. When I was actually doing a tutorial for this game, it didn't. And I just kind of had to say, please take my word for it. For correct, he should have 160 health here, and he does, so this should work. Crucially, he'll never do his attack where he rolls around the arena if you kill him in 3 cycles. He will do this, which is just a waste of time, because that attack is not helpful. What we need him to do is slam his fist onto the ground, where it becomes vines. The sea snake can freeze the vines. The bear can break the frozen vines. This might be bad. No, that's good. Alright. He can place his fist out of bounds sometimes. Major troll. And by breaking the vines, we've stunned him. Should be dead here. And he is. Awesome. Glad it worked. Bakawala, the Endless Canyon is the next level. This is another... The skip in this level is another one that I doubt the developers truly saw coming, because we do this with the sea snake to get up here. I mean, that said, there is a lot of out-of-bounds ground that has collision. Nearly all of it in this game does. Not quite all of it, but nearly all of it. I don't know how complicated that looks to a viewer unfamiliar with it anymore, but I'm willing to bet it's more complicated than it looks, because it is extremely complicated. And I'd explain it, but there's even more silly stuff happening. I'm doing skips that turn a level that probably takes 10 minutes, even if you know what you're doing, into one that takes... Well, you're seeing how long it takes. Because that's the boss arena right there. There's another invis wall to clip through, but it won't be any more of a problem than the last few. This fight is a little different. This guy will have... He's got various nodes on his body. They will light up in a consistent, predictable order, and you take them out when they're lit up. You'll do this 12 times. 2 bombs is the... Okay. That's a mistake. What happened there was I hit heal after bringing up the bomb instead of shield. So it made me do a heal potion. And if I had not canceled it, I would have done another when I threw the bomb. So I really didn't want to do that. First 4 are on the ground, next 2 are on his back. And then after that, all the remaining ones are on his back. And he gets a little squirrely towards the end of the fight. This is actually pretty early for him to be this squirrely. Next one is there. 2 bombs take out a weak point. 3 spear tosses would also do it. Or a whole bunch of melee swings. Like, a whole bunch. Next one is back here. Oh, no. I'm being silly. It's only the one that's on the ground at this point. The rest are on his back. And when we get to the point where the one on his head is lit up, which is, I believe, here... Yes, it is. At this point, I abandoned bomb tosses because they just become too difficult to line up with how squirrely he is. Spears do less damage, but they... Okay, that's really quite bad, actually. Get bucked off his back at that point. Spears do less damage, but they can be locked on. So... And we have to go up the really slow way. This is not at all what I wanted to have happen. I don't know why he's being this squirrely this early in the fight. By this point, he should be this squirrely. But he got this squirrely way earlier than usual. And because I lost a soul there, I couldn't morph into the bird as I was falling. Oh, boy. This is about as bad as this fight can go. But hey, no reset run for you. You know where I am yet. 2 more. And for the last one, you get bucked into the air again, because of course you do. For the last one, you just use your finisher. And he's defeated, and he opens the seal on Rele Nairale, the underworld. So I don't think this is going to be sub 30, but it should be sub-estimate. So this game is supposed to end with a boss rush? Before I started this run, I cleared the boss rush on another save file. Remember I said I always use save file 2? This is why. Really cool skip there. The hitbox for that cutscene extends beyond where you can stand on this walkway, so you can fly into it. There's a skip there I don't usually get, so I'm very glad I did on this otherwise quite mediocre run. It's not a huge time save, but it's good to have it. You see those lights lit up? That means the boss rush has been cleared. For whatever reason, the game thinks it's cleared on all save files when you clear it on one. This is the final boss of the Lord of the Underworld, Terigori. At the beginning, you just stick close to him, stick under his right armpit, and go counterclockwise with the swipies. He'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then expose his weak point, which you throw your spear at, and then do a Puma, since the Puma does far and away the most damage, and it maxes out his damage per cycle. This is another cycle-based fight, with bad hitboxes. You're expected to come to this fight with a ton of upgrades. The NPC in the bomb area in Pakime, the Grand City, actually sells upgrades, but you have to backtrack to her to get them, so it's not worth doing in a speedrun. So the first 2 cycles against Terigori are fairly easy. After that, the fight becomes much more complicated. He does a lot more attacks. Fireballs that spawn ads when they hit the ground, which is just rude, man. A lot more swipies. You still want to stay close to him whenever possible, but it becomes a lot harder to do that when he does things like this. Clone himself all around the arena. It's still generally the same idea. You're waiting for him to tire himself out and expose his weak point. It's a heal. I'm going clockwise with... no, I'm not. Never mind. He's going counterclockwise with the swipes, which is the way you want to go. Going clockwise with them makes him much more likely to hit you. It's just that simple. $155, I think that's one more cycle. That should not have hit me. Even the world record holder, Pedrogas, even in his world record run, he gets hit in this fight several times. This fight is not easy to do perfectly. And actually, it's the best idea when he does that attack where he just barfs on the ground to just run straight into it. Because to wait it out takes much longer. As long as you've got the health to spare, it doesn't hurt that bad. So yeah, I'm just going to run straight into it again. And it makes it go away. There's his weak point, who might be dead here. And he is. Time stops on the last hit of the boss. 30-39 is not especially good, but it's honestly about the third or fourth best run of this game I've ever done. And it's sub-estimate, so 32 I think is a pretty good estimate for this game. It's not exactly when you lose control of the character, by the way, because you still have control, not at this point, but after killing the boss you do. And the final cutscene plays into the Tarahumara creation myth. I didn't even mention the Tarahumara all throughout this run. This game is based on their traditional practices and customs and beliefs, and everything about it is meant to be as authentic to their experience as possible. The language, the music, the level design, the very level geometry is meant to resemble areas in northern Mexico where this tribe are from. You might be familiar with them. They're known for running exceptional distances without the use of modern equipment. And as I say, this is part of their creation myth. They believe that the world has been destroyed and recreated and destroyed and recreated countless times. And that's what the god basically tells you at the end, is that this world is doomed, it has to be destroyed. But with the bravery and purity of heart you, Mulaka, have shown, your people have a place in the next world. And the game really was a labor of love to the Tarahumara people, and I think even a portion of the proceeds made from it, at least for a time, were spent on efforts to preserve the culture, because it is dying out, sad to say. But anyway, that's Mulaka. Hope you liked it.